Hey everybody, welcome to the Counteroffensive with Ryan Mauro, and I am Ryan Mauro, of course. I'm just posting the donation link right now on X. Let me just make sure that gets through because I think you're going to like what we have for you today because you're really going to see how the information that we released last week about Candace Owens and her trip to Russia it's really not just about her, but it's a much longer story that's intertwined with all these other narratives and stuff. It'll make a great documentary movie one day. And I think that there's a lot of stuff that most of you are probably not going to know. And then those of you that do know the facts may not have actually put it together in the way that we are about to lay out. All right. So it looks like YouTube is working today. All right, good. So this is episode 2. So like I said, during the first episode, I'm going through this in a little bit of a different way, not even as an investigator or a prosecutor or a reporter, as some of the better channels will do. I'm trying to be a little bit more unique because I looked at all the data points in regards to the Candace Owens story and even everything with Charlie Kirk and Erica Kirk and everything that's been going on. And I realized that it only made sense from the perspective of an influence operation because a prosecutor type case or a reporter type case just doesn't work because the standards are different. Not everything will be criminal. Not everything will be scandalous. Not every data point that coincides will be a smoking gun. And so if you're looking at an influence operation, all those behavioral patterns, all the lies, the omissions, all these type of things can be put in there when they otherwise wouldn't. And I think the result tells just a really fascinating story. Thank you everyone for your really nice comments last week. If any of you guys have ever done anything publicly, you usually get crapped on. Like no matter what you do, you can do the best job of your life and like 20% of the comments are going to be people just saying horrible things. And this is one of the very few times in my life that of the people who actually watched it and weren't like bots or anything like that. It was 100% positive. And that's when I was sick. Like if you look back, there were, I think 3 times I almost threw up, like literally, it looked like I was just coughing, but you can actually see I was about to. It was one of the most sick feelings I've ever had. I was telling Alex, the producer for the show, Alex Cuesta, who also has his own podcast that you should check out on YouTube. So his last name is Cuesta, Alex Cuesta. I was telling him it was like feeling car sick 10 times over. It was just unbelievable. To the point where there was part of me, I'm like, could I have been poisoned? But then I realized that I don't leave the house. So no, wasn't poisoned. All right. So let's get to some of the new information, some of the new context for you to understand the story. So we were talking about the scandal and the stuff that we found last week, but that's not really the story. A story is told in order. And so we're going to organize the chapters of the story according to how an influence operation works. What I did was I spent an enormous amount of time looking at U.S., British, Soviet, Russian influence operations, like the official texts on the phases and how you do them, specifically if you're recruiting somebody to be involved in them. So it's an influence operation that isn't just propaganda, but actually involves an unwitting asset or an actual asset who knows what they're doing and is working with that intelligence service. And I outlined for myself, I won't reveal them all, I think I got to 10 phases. I identified that if you synthesize all these dozens of texts, because everyone measures it differently and has different phases, that was the best result I could get to, and where I could overlap it all and incorporate all the information. And when I took that 10-phase influence operation model, and I applied it to the story of Russia and the story of Candace Owens and the story of Charlie Kirk, it was remarkable how it lined up. And when you see that model, you'll understand how this is much more than just an amazing story in terms of a narrative, or even just about Russian influence operations in general. It really becomes a manual for understanding how these things work and being able to identify them elsewhere in our civil society. You'll start to see things happening completely unrelated to Candace Owens, and you'll be thinking of these podcasts, and you'll say, I'm picking up some things I didn't pick up before. I'm seeing some correlations that are just like that. And so I'm hoping that this will really equip you guys to play a bigger role. And real quick, RyanMauro.com is where you can go if you want to donate to to support my work, because right now I'm going through a little bit of a job transition. Everything's fine. It's just a little bit tough. But I don't know if I can actually keep doing the podcast like this because it takes up a lot of time, but I'd really like to. So I appreciate your support in doing that. If you are on YouTube and you want to do a super chat, you can also send a gift, I believe, on there. This is the first time I'm doing any of that. So hopefully I'm accurately articulating how that all works. Alex is going to help me. But those are options if you want to help support my work, not just the podcast. But if you look at ryanmauro.com, you'll see I do a lot of different things meant to help people and help the country from a national security standpoint. And you can help be a part of that by doing directly or doing a super chat or a gift or whatever. At the very least, share this on your own social media page. So the first phase of an influence operation is, I got a text from Alex. Hold on. We're live everywhere besides my personal Facebook page, but the other one on Facebook. Okay, all good. So the first phase of an influence operation, there's disagreement as to whether you include this first phase, but I'm going to include it. The first phase is laying out your strategy and your objective. So if you are Russia, China, Iran, or whoever, and you say, I need to influence the United States, that's my adversary, then you have to say, well, what's my strategy for fighting them? What's the strategy for an influence operation? And what's the objective? Those are the two things that you need. Now, if you watch the first episode of the podcast, Cracking the Candace Code, I went over this. There's basically 3 pillars that, broadly speaking, apply here in terms of what Russia's strategy is. And then we'll get into the individual objectives. And that's where Candace Owens and Turning Point will become more relevant. But the first is the Tsarist Christianity. That is where they basically believe in there being a prince, like a Putin-style czar. Combination of church and state, an authoritarian version of Christianity that hates the West, is filled with anti-Semitism, and is pro-Islamic jihadist. That's their version of Christianity, and they want to ally with traditional Catholics. Thank you. I just saw that compliment. So they want to promote Tsarist Christianity as a fusion, an alliance between Orthodox Christians, but really by that they mean the Russian Orthodox Church, which is controlled by Putin and the intelligence service, and what's called traditional Catholics, like capital T traditional, a specific type, not a Catholic who's traditional, but actually has a title traditional Catholics who tend to be a little bit more friendly towards Russia, a little bit more inclined towards anti-Semitism, that type of thing. I'm talking about, again, so Catholics don't get offended. I'm talking about a specific type of Catholic that call themselves traditionalist Catholics. And most people who identify themselves say, oh, I'm a traditionalist, I'm a Catholic, aren't in league with them, and everybody knows that. But that's the title they use for themselves, so that's what I've got to go with. The second strategy is targeting civil society. So I'll go back to the quote that I very frequently show people. Let's see. Alex, let's see, is there a button I need to hit here? All right, you got it for me. All right, so Alexander Dugin, a name that most of you guys probably know, that's like Russia's MAGA targeter. He's been around since the 1990s. He calls himself a philosopher. He works with Russian intelligence, and he's promoted by Candace Owens, Alex Jones, Tucker Carlson, Glenn Greenwald, a whole bunch of other people. But he's kind of the one that crafts the influence operation publicly towards American conservatives, Christians, MAGA. And so this is a quote that you'll see in most episodes. I'm going to read this quote, but it's important for you to understand. It is necessary to counteract U.S. Atlanticist geopolitics at all levels and in all regions of the world, trying to weaken, demoralize, deceive, and ultimately defeat the enemy, that's us, as much as possible. It is especially important to bring geopolitical turmoil into the U.S. domestic reality by encouraging all kinds of separatism, various ethnic, social, and racial conflicts, actively supporting all dissident movements of extremist, racist, and sectarian groups that destabilize internal political processes in the USA. At the same time, it makes sense to support isolationist tendencies in U.S. politics, the theses of those often right-wing Republican circles that believe the U.S. should confine itself to its domestic problems. This state of affairs is highly advantageous to Russia, even if isolationism is carried out within the original Monroe Doctrine wording, if the U.S. limits its influence to two Americas, this does not mean that Eurasia, because he says his movement is the Eurasian movement. So he's referring to himself, Russia and its allies. This does not mean that Eurasia should give up on destabilizing the Latin American world by seeking to remove certain regions from U.S. control. All levels of geopolitical pressure on the U.S. must be engaged. So strategy one, we said, is Tsarist Christianity. And then strategy number two now is basically attacking civil society. And then number three, and by attacking civil society, kill America is the goal. Just make it rip itself apart. And then the third strategy is pushing conspiracy theories, because that gets people into a mindset where they become predisposed to be anti-establishment, anti-government, because if you believe in conspiracy theory, you're fearful of those who have power. Can't be a conspiracy unless someone has all-encompassing power. That's kind of the common thread there. So you get people believing that and thinking that way, then it's easy to steer that in whatever direction, and they'll just naturally become anti whatever they think the elite or the powers are, and that'll be the U.S. government, the West. It just naturally leads there, and Russian fronts, according to the U.S. Treasury Department, have explicitly noticed that when you get people involved in conspiracy theorists, those types of voices, especially if they're American speaking to American audiences, also carry Russian disinformation pretty well. It's the same personality type. It's the same lack of logic. So it makes people much more susceptible to that. So those are the three strategies, and we'll call that phase one of an influence operation. You have to draw that part out. Tsarist Christianity and Orthodox, Russian Orthodox mixed with the traditional Catholics, smashing civil society, and then promoting conspiracy theory subculture, I guess you could call it. The phase that follows that is, let me see if there's anything else I want to, actually, let me bring this up real quick. Alex, you want to bring this up? This is just an article, if you guys want to reference it, at glennbeck.com that I wrote that lays out a lot of this. The Russian influence operations targeting Candace Owens and you. So that's a really long article, but it goes into the Tsarist Christianity. It goes into conspiracy theories, and Glenn Beck was impacted enough by it that he was actually tearing up on air, but he covered it for 3 days. So that made me very happy. Let me pull this up. So there is James Falk, I believe is his X account, but there is someone who I've worked with who created this graph that I can share on X. But basically, it's about the Strategic Culture Foundation that was formed by a former communist official, where he deliberately said and was recorded as he put together a team, saying that the way to continue the Soviet ideology is to rebirth it, and rebirth it as communism, nationalism, and Orthodox Christianity combined. And these different arrows are just showing how he leads the Strategic Culture Foundation. And then you can see this is how the conspiracy theory ecosystem works, and how they put their allies in these different spots. So like Zero Hedge may not be a Russian front, but it acts as a conveyor belt. Same thing with InfoWars, Ron Paul Institute, I'm sorry to say. Unto Review, which is Buckley Carlson, Tucker Carlson's brother, mentioned, I think, 2 sources that you can really trust. And the Unto Review was one of them. And they are known for having Nazi writers. Not everyone's a Nazi, but they've included Nazis. And so, yeah, that's the Russian Foreign Intelligence Service operates this. The Strategic Culture Foundation is a front for it. So it's very, very direct. And these are just the platforms that they say, all right, well, these are eager recipients for our type of material and people that we can use. If you trace how the material goes, where it's printed, and then where it shows up, that's that particular ecosystem, what it looks like. All right, so now let's talk about phase 2, or depending on how you look at it, phase 1, phase 2, whatever, of an influence operation. So you've got the strategy, and then you've got your objectives. The objectives will become a little bit more clear as I go through this. But the next phase is spotting and plausibility assessment. These are my terms from bringing together all the different sources, so I could aggregate everything. So the next phase is spotting and plausibility assessment. So if you're a foreign intelligence service, you have your strategy, you have your objectives, which we'll get more into, but then spotting and plausibility assessment. What that means is it could just be a Google search even. You say, all right, well, who are the movers and who are the likely people coming around the corner that are ascending that can influence things in the way that I want them to go? So people who have growing platforms or big platforms, people who are rising up in the political elite or already are political elites. It's basically making a giant spreadsheet of saying, who is our wish list of who to target? And then they look and see who fits the criteria based off of some things that I will show in just a minute. So they identify targets who can advance the specific campaign. So if it's Tsarist Christianity, they would look for like powerful priests, make a list of the top priests and pastors. And you just put all that together, and then you look at which ones they would categorize them basically and say, all right, well, what do they offer us? Do they influence public opinion? So VIPs, public figures, are a top target here. Access to VIPs, access to secrets, because it can be an influence operation and also espionage at the same time. Are they part of operational networks? So not just isolated. They prefer someone who socializes a lot, who you win them over, they introduce you to other people. So someone who's part of an organization, that would be a box that they would check. Whether they have decision-making power right now or are in the future will have decision-making power. And so that's kind of how they narrow down who they want to target. And it's a wide range of purposes. Let's see, public figures would be the first that come to mind when you're putting this together, because those are the first ones you come across. They're among the most useful for an influence campaign. And they're just the ones that would fill that Excel spreadsheet right away, the names that first come to mind. And you can evaluate them risk-free. So that's what's really appealing for public figures for an influence operation, because you can get a lot of information about public figures, especially if they have a podcast or something. You get to know their personality. They share a lot of personal details. It's just a great target. All this work that you normally have to do to target a private individual doesn't apply if it's a public figure, especially one who's out there talking a lot. If they have a very big personality. So you can easily identify how they stick out, what makes them unique. Then they rise up in priority in terms of who you want to pick out. Let's see. So then you make those lists, and then there's a list of catalysts. And catalysts mean things that you can exploit, things that you can do to accelerate or decelerate what they're doing. So it's not just shifting them in your direction, but you're also identifying how do I get them to do more of something? How do I get them to do less of something? How does this person tick? And if you can't figure that out, then you move on to another target. Again, there's a large target list, and this is all going to become relevant. You'll see why. They'll look for things like people who are disillusioned. So you have your list of possible targets. Who's disillusioned and who is anti-establishment? They're going to be predisposed to the type of propaganda and outreach that is most successful with influence operations. They go to the top of the list. Identifiable personal vulnerabilities, financial distress, having a big ego, maybe not having a big ego, but needing recognition, publicly or privately. They're just someone who needs encouragement, someone who's upset because they have unmet expectations. Basically, overall, is the person exceptionally upset about something, or do they exceptionally want something? So are they exceptionally upset about something? That's someone you can leverage. Or do they want something more than the common person would want something? All right, so then those people would stick out. Then the Foreign Intelligence Service that's doing this survey would ask themselves, all right, of those targets, and they'll narrow it down further. I'll get to that in a minute. But the key question as they're going through this, they're going to be saying, based on our assets are in the field, based off of what our capabilities are, can we position ourselves to make their life better or worse? Because it doesn't matter how desirable a target is if you're not positioned to actually do that. So do we have things that we can offer them to improve their lives? Do we have ways of making their lives worse? Ideally, you have both. Can that person be manipulated without the activity gathering the attention of intelligence agencies or law enforcement? That's a big one. This is like one of the top ones, because you want everything that you do to be as much as possible legal, inconspicuous, not to have too many anomalies. You don't want law enforcement sniffing around, even if what you're doing is legal and you won't get prosecuted, because these operations are an investment of resources and you want your resources, your investment, to pay off. You want a return on your investment. So the preference is going to be for people who can be influenced legally and in ways that will not catch the attention of law enforcement. So they want an easy approach, someone you can approach very easily, ideally someone who's public, somewhere they can come up with an approach that's safe, that's legal, barely noticeable. So somebody who's going to events a lot, someone who's interacting with people a lot. So they're constantly meeting new people. That would be the type of person that you would say, all right, that's somebody that we, put a check mark next to their name as they narrow down their lists. Now, after 2016, but even during 2016, the Russians, based off of the public available information that we have, if you look at the content of the bots, the trolls, the fake websites, the fake social media profiles, it's a lot of that's been quantified, what's public, of what's been public. Most of it's going to be classified, but of what's public, you can actually look at proportionally how the Russians were targeting different elements of civil society. And from like 2016 to 2020, and even now, their primary target is Christian conservatives, Republicans, people involved in conservative causes. They're having the most success there, and there are even Soviet and Russian people that were saying long ago that we really need to go after the Republicans, because Reagan was a Republican, right? So if you can neutralize the anti-communist sentiment coming from the right, then you're in a much better position. If you can make it so that if Reagan was alive today, he would wake up to a nightmare, then from the Russian perspective, the Soviet perspective, that's exactly what you want to do. And that quote from Dugin that I showed, he was saying what's unique about the right-wing Republican politics is the isolationist strain. That isn't there so much. It is there in some cases with the left. And so he's saying, all right, so that's what we have to leverage. And specifically in that 2016, but especially the year 2018, you're gonna see why I zeroed in on that. In 2018, their top target was Black people in general. Black people who vote for Democrats, Black people who are not voting, not politically active. And the objective was to get Black people who vote Democrat to not vote or to switch sides. And that's part of that is just for polarization. So one of the big things whenever you talk about this, they'll be like, the left and the right will go nuts on me depending on how I say this, where they're like, no, Russia backs the other side, but not mine. It's always the other person's fault. That's not really how the Russian mindset works with this stuff. It's not a matter of backing one side or the other. Maybe for an election, they have a little bit of a preference, but that is a subcomponent of the goal of polarization, promoting radicalism. Like if you have an anti-Russia candidate, you would think that they would oppose them. But if that candidate increases polarization and instability, they might actually favor that person. Even though on the face of it, you would say that's not what they should be doing. And from the perspective of an influence operator, you're trying to influence both sides positively and negatively. You're trying to empower them and then also trying to weaken them simultaneously on both sides. They view our system as just one thing. So when we keep saying, oh, is Russia and China and Iran, do they favor the left or the right? It almost falls on deaf ears. They know what you mean, but it doesn't resonate when you look at how they talk about this stuff. Because to them, it's just one machine. It's like, which part of the assembly line are we attacking here? And it can change each day. Today it's a better day to support Democrats. A better day to support a third party, or maybe you divide it up, 75% going towards Republicans, 25% towards Democrats, and then you switch it. Like, it just is constantly being revised because our adversaries do not have principles like we do. The value that we have on consistency and honesty and just the way that we look at things in the West is we fail to appreciate how unique that is. Not adversaries of the West don't think that way. A lot of cultures and countries maybe partially think that way, but not quite to our extent. It's not as big of a deal in other parts of the world to be inconsistent. It's like, oh, they flip-flopped. It's not here. It's like, oh, you're a flip-flopper. You got to be consistent. Oh, is your idea consistent? And we really focus on it. And that's a unique thing. So you have to understand how the other side thinks. So in 2018, getting back to that point, the top target was Black people and then conservatives. If you look at the targeting priorities of what Russia was doing online, where they were putting their influence operators who actually got arrested, people got deported. That was the prioritization for 2018. Okay, so for those of you taking notes, one personal detail, there's a reason I'm pointing this comment out. One personal detail Owens has never shared is the name of the private equity firm she worked for in New York. So let's just put it this way. NDAs prevent me from saying everything. I'll leave it there. But moving on from that, so I described like who they're looking for, but now that's how they develop the list. And so say they have a list of targets, now they have to figure out who can they manipulate and how. So it's not just, oh, are we positioned to influence this person, make their life better or worse? We have that. But as a personality, who will be susceptible to that? Who would actually be responsive to that pressure? How do you identify them? And in the world of intelligence, there's long been this acronym called MICE, M-I-C-E. And there's been people that have expanded it and said that that's, obsolete now, but this MICE is kind of standard. And so that's a good model to use while understanding that it may not capture every single nuance, but MICE, it would be part of the process. And then there's things you can add on to it, but the core of it will be MICE. So let me pull up a graphic for that. Ooh, let me see. Did I actually? Maybe I didn't. Oh, wait a minute. The most important one I might have forgot. Alex, if you can search MICE in the folder, see if we can find that. I might have done the thing where I assume it's so important. I assume I uploaded it, and then I actually didn't. But if not, it's not a big deal. I can still get by. So MICE. Here's what it stands for. MICE. M-I-C-E. The M is for money. You're identifying what someone is susceptible to as you're trying to figure out who you go after. Oh, I might have forgotten. I will read super chats later unless Alex tells me there's something I need to read right away. Donations, RyanMauro.com. If you want to get something tax deductible. I am starting something called the $1 Challenge because I realize that in order to continue this podcast, because like I'm a bare bones type of guy. I'm not. I live very minimally. I'm happiest that way. But it makes things like this a little bit difficult, especially right now. I'm going through a transition job-wise and income-wise. And so if just a significant portion of people who see this donate $1, I mean, if you're watching this, you probably think you care about these issues. If you do, 99% of you guys can afford $1, especially if it's tax deductible, because that means you write off on your taxes. It's like 75 cents, right? Depending on how much money you make, what your tax rate is. So RyanMauro.com, I'm challenging everybody, just donate at least $1. And believe it or not, if a significant percentage of people do it, then we're good to go. If you can give more, then that's even better. On YouTube, there's the option for gifts, and then there's super chats, like I said before, that I'll read later, or if Alex tells me to read one right away, then I will do that. But mice. So mice, M is money. So you look at someone and say, would they, not just are we, like I said before, positioned to make their life better or worse, but are they receptive to this? So M, money. Mice. So basically the way mice works is these are different variables, and the of MICE, the number of them that a target is influenced by, the higher likelihood of success you're going to have. The more intensely they're impacted by one of these letters in the acronym, the higher likelihood of your success is. So money. If they're looking around in 2018, because that's when our story is going to begin, they're going to say, does this person, obviously we're going to talk about Candace Owens, so let's just do that. In 2018, they'd be looking around, they'd say, all right, well, we are looking to influence Black people and conservatives. So who's a Black conservative that we need to influence? I mean, you would right away, they would Google, because surprise, Russia does have Google. Like you can say it's a 100% fact that Candace Owens would be on their radar immediately with those objectives. Immediately. There's no scenario where that's not true. So they definitely looked at her to the extent that we are going to look at her right now. This conversation we're having happened in Russia. We're acting it out. So at this point, they'd be saying, all right, so Candace Owens or whoever else, mice, M, money. Do they need money or do they want money? So you may not need it, but you may really want it because you're selfish. All right, well then that person should go up on our list. Do they need money? Goes up on the list. Now, if you look at the criticism of Candace for how she spent money at Blexit, I think you would see that she needed money based off of what she was doing at this time, 2018. She was not rich. She was definitely not rich. She needed money. She also loved to spend money and have money, if Blexit is any indication. And even today, I mean, she asked people for donations to pay for her security when she has like dozens of millions of dollars, it's believed. Like, but you ask for donations from people, like, so yes, money is a factor for her. At this point in time, 2018, she needs it and she really loves it. So that'll work. The I for ideology is either that you are an unwitting agent, or I'm getting distracted because I really want to find the mice thing on here. Actually, you know what? I know what to do. 1 second, guys. Okay. I'm just downloading it now. It's kind of, this is important enough that it's worth me doing this. All right. Alex, if you want to pull that up on my screen. Let's see. Actually, let me see if. Are you guys able to see it right now? Mice, MICE, the PowerPoint? Okay, I'm not getting any comments. Alex?
Hey, Ryan, you don't have it up yet on the share
I
screen.
don't have it
throw
up.
it up there. Let me know and I'll.
I have it in. Oh, because I put it in my downloads. I'm an idiot. Okay, I'm sorry.
I guess.
All right, hold on a second.
jumping on to give a shout out to X Mama Bear 4 for the gift. She sent a nice gift to us.
Oh, thank you.
It. Thank you. Thank you.
That helps so much.
Yes.
It's one of those things that I know everybody says that, but I wish you guys knew, like, it's definitely not going to beer. I can tell you that. All right. So is this up now, mice? Otherwise, I put it in the folder, Alex.
The other thing is you have to share the folder with me, Ryan. You didn't share it with me.
I didn't share the folder with you. Oh, for God's sakes. Okay. So I sent it to you. So it says I am sharing. So oh wait, share this tab instead. Can you guys see it now? All right, so someone's good. Sorry about that, guys, but you'll see, like, this is kind of important because there are people taking notes, and without this, everything kind of falls apart. So mice, do they need money? Do they want money? In the case of Candace Owens, the answer would be yes and yes to both of those. Ideology. So it's not just identifying sympathizers. That's easy. But if they have an absent ideology, if their ideology is moldable, if they're a fellow traveler, meaning they don't exactly share your ideology, but to what extent that they have one, your allies, or a useful idiot, someone that you can just kind of feed them stuff, and they'll go along with it, and not a critical thinker, and for whatever reason they like your content and they'll run with it. So if someone qualifies under ideology, well, let's take a look at Candace's history at this time in 2018 when the story begins. She launched the Red Pill Black website and YouTube channel in September 2017. So in terms of political activism, she's very, very, very new to the conservative movement. And it happened because of a scandal she got into. And people started harassing her. It wasn't because she read a book and had some intellectual quest. It was then, just like you see now, her views are influenced by who she dislikes, who hurt her. Just like the anti-Semitism, it went sky high. Why? Because she started beefing with Ben Shapiro. He hurt her. And so, Daily Wire lets her go, and then it goes sky high. Like that's a common thing with her. And you better believe that when the Russians at this point, 2018, are doing the mice thing to analyze her, they're going to see that. They're going to say, all right, well, she's a baby political activist who just switched because of a scandal, not because of an actual core ideology, and is rapidly rising in the ranks, even though she doesn't really know what she believes. She knows what rhetoric works, what feels good, but she doesn't actually know what she believes. So that's absent and moldable, and also, as we'll see, a fellow traveler and a useful idiot, basically all at once in that one lovely package. C, coercion or compromise. This one, in the case of Candace Owens, maybe there's something there, maybe not. And what that can be is blackmail, is what people think of. It could also be dependency. So I can coerce you just because you're dependent upon me. Maybe I'm your boss. I'm a big donor. There's something I give you that you need, and I might not be threatening you or anything directly, but there's dependency. That is coercion. The potential for coercion is there. Make someone compromise their values, it's there. Blackmail, that's the classic one. And threat potential, just meaning you have assets near the person or some ability to threaten them if you wanted to. You don't have to actually do it, but it's enough that that person knows that whoever is on your side with the influence operation, that person, if they wanted to, could hurt them in some way. And then the last one is ego and excitement. That would be unfulfilled expectations, a lack of self-fulfillment, their identity, like what makes them feel good about themselves. So it's not just, are you successful according to the world's criteria? Are they successful according to what they want? What are they becoming, like their heroes in their life? Or are they not? Are they resentful because they feel that they've done the work necessary to get somewhere and they're not there? And there's someone that they can blame either as a scapegoat, or maybe they actually have a legitimate reason to blame someone else. Restlessness. Someone who's really ambitious might be restless because they want more and more and more. And that can be a very good thing, but restlessness is something that they would look for. And psychological vulnerabilities, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're crazy or that you're a bad person or anything like that. It's just everybody has weak points, right? You just look at behavioral patterns and if these are identifiable, especially if it's a public figure, and at this point in the process, the influence operators can identify that without having to get to know you. They just see it on the screen. Then, all right, you're going up the list. So I think we could say, based off of everything I've said so far, that in 2018, top target was black people. Second was conservatives. So black conservatives would be at the top. And then as they're going through this, mice, she would fit a lot of this criteria. When really you only need one. Like someone could have just one of those four things and become a spy, become part of an influence operation without realizing it. They get recruited in some way. These are the drivers. And here we have, definitely money, ideology, ego, excitement with her. Coercion and compromise. We'll get into that, but blackmail, I'm not seeing smoking gun proof of. All right, so let me pull out of this screen. And go back to Google Drive. So when the Russians at this point, 2018, are surveying Candace Owens, as we know that they did, because, of course, she would be at the top of the list. What are some things that they would notice? Let's see. I guess we'll get to that in a minute. Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. As part of the spotting process. So here's what would pull up on their screen. So you can act this out in your mind. First would be they would find on her YouTube channel this satire that she did. And keep in mind, I'm not saying that this is pro-Russia propaganda, but if you're looking for a starting point, this is a good starting point what I'm about to show you. So this is some satire she did.
Are you or a loved one suffering from paranoia?
Hello?
Do thoughts of collusion make it nearly impossible for you to deal with the outside world?
Jenny! Jennifer!
Paranoia is real. Sovieta can help.
Hi, I'm Jennifer, and Sovieta gave me my life back.
Sovieta is a one-a-day pill.
I don't know why I have multiple of these going. But anyway, so she's mocking the Russia collusion stuff, which a lot of people did, and there's merit to that. I tend to, when it comes to that period of time, I tend to think the truth is in the middle a little bit there, where some people just make it sound as if the Russians were up to nothing and having no success, and then other people are making it sound like Donald Trump was like a KGB spy. There is a middle ground, people, in there. There's a very big middle ground there. But what they would see is if you're surveying the field and you're looking at Candace as a possible target, you would say, all right, so she's already predisposed to mocking the idea of Russian influence. And Laura Loomer was amazingly honest about this on X. I really commend her for this, where she was saying, like, well, that's when it started for her, where she became blind to Russian propaganda, because you would just hear Russia influence, and a lot of people would become predisposed to rejecting it, even identifying with Russia a little bit, and that's where a lot of the anti-Ukraine stuff happened, because in their mind, if you're hyper political, Ukraine, Democrat, Russia, well, I guess it's Republican, and because they want to downplay the significance of the Russian threat because that's being used as a political weapon at the time. That's why I say political tribalism poisons everything. It does. That's a good example of it. So the Russians would see that satire that Candace did. They would Google, like I said. So here's an example. Here's an article that would definitely show up because it's June 2018. how Candace Owens suddenly became the loudest
Ryan,
voice on
you
the
gotta
far
do a
right.
quick share again because you stopped sharing. So you gotta share it again real quick.
All right.
We're working out the kinks, people. We appreciate
Yeah,
you guys hanging with us.
sorry.
But if you wait with us, the information will be worth it. Ryan's a genius. Don't forget that.
I'm smart in some ways, and then others not so much. Okay, so you guys can see this now, I assume, right? So June 2018, this would pop right up because you would assume the Russian influence operators would Google and they would see how Candace Owens suddenly became the loudest voice on the far right. Can Trump's new favorite pundit bring young and minority voters to the Republican Party? So your top target's black people. The second one is conservatives, close behind that. Her name pops up, you Google it, and you see this. I mean, is she going to get the full brunt of your attention in 2018? Hell yes. Hell yes. There's no scenario where that does not happen. All right, now what else? What would the Russians do? They would look at her old blog. And this is what they would see. Very few people know about this, what I'm about to show you guys. Oh, in March 2015, in our story, it's 2018, but only 3 years ago, she was saying, my God, what was she saying? That the Constitution needs to evolve. And then later on, further down, she says, the Constitution where it belongs, in a museum. So in 2015, she goes from saying the Constitution belongs in a museum to then in 2017, she's a conservative. And that type of, and we're supposed to believe that that happened very quickly and authentically. I think the Russians would see that. And what they would say is Meist ideology. It means the ideology is absent and it's moldable. And to what extent she has an ideology, it fits what they're targeting. I added this just so that you guys can see the cycle here. This is something that she said more recently in Russia to the Russian media. So 2015, she's like, all right, well, the Constitution belongs in a museum. And then here, she is talking about how Americans avoid learning about history because if they look at their own history, the history of the world, deeper than 250 years, it could lead to unpredictable consequences because we're just a baby. So she's down talking us. You know, so she said, so that's very similar language of saying, oh, well, the Constitution is outdated. It's not up to snuff intellectually. It's immature, essentially. Now, what else would they say? Because they would definitely look at her blog. If we're looking at it now, they would look at it in 2018. All right. Here's something else that they would say. Diary of an Anorexic. And I'm not ragging on her for any of this, by the way. I like that she's been public about this. But this is stuff that Russia would say. Her talking about abusing Xanax. Her talking about how she would abuse Adderall. Here's another. This is in 2019, but it's still relevant because this is about her rise. Candace Owens is the new face of black conservatism. So the two things they're looking at, they're targeting. I mean, of course, she would be the first person that they would look at. That's a fact at this point. Let me see if there's anything else. No. So the Russians wouldn't even have to know necessarily how to leverage this. They just need it present. These are vulnerabilities that they could exploit later. You'll have to use it right away. Now, here's something that she said about herself. That's very telling because the psychological profilers, the Russian intelligence puts a lot more emphasis on psychology. They call it a science, actually. Disinformation, influence operators, they call it a science. We don't do that in the US. They view people as a robot. You just have to figure out how it works. So here's what she's talking about. She was like before she became a conservative and became Christian, which would be at this point in time in 2018, like basically yesterday.
We don't have any sound on our end, Ryan. Hey, Ryan, we don't have any sound.
Alex, I hear you saying something there.
We didn't have any. I didn't hear anything on my end. I
You
don't
didn't
know
hear
if it's
anything. Okay,
sound.
so that's
Yeah.
the video where she is. I don't know if we'll hear it if you can pull it up on your end, but it's she's basically describing how she was a bad person, how she was mean. She's describing what she's like today, basically. And so these are the type of things that they will, you know, the Russians would see. We're acting it out ourselves right now. Let's see what else I got here. Strategy, spotting. Oh, I have this quote that I want to show you guys. Even though it's awkward, I hate talking about myself and like bragging, but people have told me that particularly when it comes to this topic, I need to show my credentials because there's so many people podcasting that it's hard to know like who is just a good podcaster, but they're learning on the fly than people who have actually studied it. So the highest Soviet bloc intelligence officer to defect to the West gave me an endorsement for my website saying the precocious teenager I once knew is now an authoritative force in the field of counterterrorism and blah, 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 blah. Basically, he's just saying I was one of the very few analysts to understand Russian disinformation operations, how they were going after pro-American Christianity, and gave me this endorsement a long time before Russian influence operations like we're talking about today became a thing. I mean, that's why he gave me the endorsement. But there it is. He's saying, oh, such an understanding of the KGB science of disinformation allows one to transform night into day. That is what I'm trying to do with this podcast, trying to transform night into daytime.
I have the video on my end if you want.
Yeah, let's play that video.
Let me see if I can throw it up here. Boom, boom. Right. Let me pop myself up. Move that and that. All right.
From, and I was a bad person. I don't know how to say it. I just was a really bad person, a person that I'm not proud of. And I didn't treat people well. I wasn't true to my word. And I was mean. And that meanness came from an anger, a deep-seated anger. And then...
Okay, so these are all those are personality features I'm sure the psychological profiles would notice. So we're acting out what the Russians did. Now, am I speculating as to the Russians would say, Candace Owens, yes, who is she talking with? It might have been Dr. Phil. It was a talk show like that, something like that. But am I speculating?
Going back, it was on the Blaze.
Oh, it was on Blaze. Okay.
Yeah.
So am I speculating, just doing analysis here? Not really. I'm acting it out with you guys so you can see how it's played out in 2018. Now, we know what the outcome of that assessment was. Very few people know this. So let's see if we got this here. So Brexit gets announced in 2018, October 2018. And what happens instantly? Immediately, the Russian intelligence social media networks start promoting it. Here's an excerpt from an article. It turns out that approximately 40,000 or 16% of the Brexit tweets we collected came from accounts that previously pushed Kremlin propaganda in one of two key Russian disinformation campaigns. One attempting to exonerate the Syrian government in a deadly chemical weapons attack. Another targeting, think about this, guys. Another targeting last year's presidential election in France in support of a failed 11th hour intervention by Russia's GRU, its military intelligence agency. Here's another thing. Russian propaganda veterans pushed Candace Owens' Brexit campaign, November 2nd, 2018. Tens of thousands of tweets came from Russian-controlled accounts. So when you see that she is being promoted now by RT, we can go back to me. I'm not sure how to bring this. when you see today she's being promoted by RT and the state media outlets, that began in 2018, guys. Only now, what you're seeing now is a later phase in how an influence operation goes, where it becomes more overt. This is when it, according to the phase of an influence operation, this is what's supposed to happen, and it's happening in 2018. So she's on the radar. We acted out exactly what the Russians would see as they're evaluating her, and then you see Blexit gets announced, and instantly, they use their proven disinformation and promotional social media accounts to back her. Very interesting. And one of the networks, and I have to think, even though I don't know how, this has something to do with why she chose, of all conspiracy theories to get involved in, the Brigitte Macron conspiracy theory, because that's just too much of a coincidence that the Russian networks that boost people in 2018, the networks that boost people also were involved in attacking the Macrons. That same exact network, of all the networks, the specific one used to influence France is used to boost her in 2018. And then years later, of all the conspiracy theories she decides to pick up, it's the Macron, the French again, the same target as those same bots that again promote her, like from the same agency anyway, that again promotes her. Too much is lining up there. I don't know how that played out or to what degree she was aware that even was her decision, but that's a remarkable coincidence that the same online network used by Russia to interfere with France in 2018 is used to boost Candace Owens, and then several years later it comes back for full circle again like that, and she's involved in attacking the Macrons again in a way that is at least aligned with the Russians. That's pretty remarkable. So we know the outcome of the assessment that we just played out. They decided that she was someone that they needed to influence, someone that they needed to promote. Oh, by the way, polarization. Remember I said one of the strategies? So strategy would be promoting polarization, getting Americans to be more hateful, not be able to have good conversations, not intellectual, constructive conversations, to undermine our civil society. You know, that's one of the goals. They're also trying to influence Black conservatives at this time. Definitely come across Candace Owens. With that objective in mind, if they're looking at Candace Owens' rhetoric and their objective of dumbing down and making American civil society toxic, I mean, now she's an A++, right? Like before it was an A, it could be an A+. Now it's A++. It's like, oh, and she's a good messenger, and she says things that riles up people and inhibits constructive conversations because she gets people mad, they get mad at her, and everybody's screaming. I mean, this is just, of course, they would say that Candace is who we got to focus on. Absolutely. 2018, that would be their determination. Now, something else happens 2018. There is a man named John Mappin, who some of you may have heard of. He's a big figure in the Church of Scientology, very, very rich, and very well connected to Russia. And Alexander Dugin. Now, you might be thinking the Church of Scientology, that doesn't really fit an influence operation. Well, here's something most of you guys don't know about. If you can see it on my screen now. Operation Snow White. The Church of Scientology isn't just a cult or an organization or arguably a criminal organization, a nonprofit. It's not just that. It's an intelligence agency. It wasn't a foreign government that did the biggest infiltration and sabotage of the U.S. government ever done. It was the Church of Scientology in the 70s. So it sounds like that would be an odd fit for, Russia to say, oh, is there someone affiliated with Scientology that we can use or work through them or however that was established? No, it's actually right on board. You team up with them or someone within Scientology that's high up. And I mean, look at that. They installed 5,000 covert agents in the 70s. That's insane. So if you team up with them and you exploit them, you get not just a person, not just a position of influence, you get an entire intelligence service that has absolutely no moral restraints. If you look at historically what they have done. All right, so they have something called the Guardian's Office. That's what I wanted to show. So if you guys look on Wikipedia, Operation Snow White and Guardian's Office, you'll see the different intelligence operations that the Church of Scientology has done. It'll blow your mind. So John Mappin is a senior figure in London that involved with them. He's also big in QAnon. And he says weird Scientology type things. Raised the flag bearing a large Q over the hotel that he owned. And this is something you're going to see again and again. And it's not just about him. You'll see this type of thinking with Candace over the years. Mappin says, I knew that certain things were going to occur in the next 12 months. Q was going to enter the mainstream narrative. And he says that about like everything of significance. Trump wins. He goes, I predicted it. I have a special algorithm to analyze footage of the candidates. I analyze footage of Trump descending the escalator. And somehow analyzing that video gave him the mathematical key to know the future and to predict the election. Not based off of voter turnout or anything like that, but his special algorithm. Now, what else do we know about Mappin? Okay, this is from his bio. Super, super, super rich, but openly an influence operative. Help to lobby. What's a lobbyist? An influence operative. And who's he influencing for? The highest levels in the US, the UK, China, and the CIS. That's the former Soviet Union. That means Russia. Openly, right there in his bio. His wife, who speaks Russian. And depending on which bio you believe, or maybe there's a way to reconcile them, she was born in Kazakhstan, former Soviet Republic, grew up there and in Russia. And Camelot Castle is what they own in London. She's just bragging about her family's history in the Soviet Union and in Russia, how she's part of like the elite class there. How Russia is today a testimony to the work and the powerful philosophy that we as a family have maintained and continue to forward. She's talking about how her grandfather was one of a very affluent part of the elite Soviet Union. My grandfather was a senior Soviet official, contacts all over the world and right across Soviet Russia. So, not really hidden. I don't think he would even deny that he's so Russia connected. And we can come back to me for a moment. Some more stuff about him before I get into why this is relevant in 2018. So him and his wife, and there's questions about their story, by the way, about their bio and stuff, but the Russia stuff is solid. He's an open admirer and associate of Alexander Dugin. He says that Dugin is the most advanced geopolitical thinker right now of all time. He has his own channel where he interviews Dugin. That's the guy with the quote that I read earlier, the Russian influence agent that was saying to stir up the extremes, empower the extremes within American society. He's interviewed him multiple times. He promoted an article by Dugin where Dugin was predicting a second American Civil War. Mappin is also an accused fraudster. He was successfully sued in 2002. The judge concluded that Mappin was, quote, a party to a scam designed to extract money, unquote, from someone to invest in a Hollywood movie project that didn't actually exist. So that's 2002. And so he may actually be like the spotter for the Russians because he's so active. I don't know if that means you're like at what point do you become an agent versus a partner? I don't know. But he's very, very well connected as he says, the highest levels of the Russian government. Ideologically, he's there. He's well connected with all the elites, money. I mean, he would be a very good spotter. And as we get to, you're going to see that he plays that role. When Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022, he declared his solidarity with the Russian bear. He said that the invasion is a gift for the freedom of the world. He attends private events in the Russian ambassador's personal home. And by the way, because of the Tsar's Christianity, I forgot to mention this. He also makes it sound like he's this big Christian. I think he might genuinely believe he is. In Scientology, and this smooths out the contradiction some of you might be thinking about, They believe you can be a Scientologist and a member of other religions simultaneously. So you can be a Scientologist and a Christian just as much, according to their way of thinking. There's actually a quote from Mappin from X where he said something like, he wants to be the first, what do you say? The first Scientologist, Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Buddhist. Because he believes you can take more than one and fuse them together. So that's how he's able to play these different roles. So being in the Church of Scientology actually, at first you wouldn't think it. You say that's kind of an oddball thing. Like it fits right in. It opens up a lot of doors. A lot of the stuff about having like special powers and like a lot of that Scientology type language that you now see Candace presumably getting from Mappin, but maybe not. But I mean, it's very similar. Mappin now claims, just like Candace does, that Charlie Kirk appears to him in spirit form. And he also claims that Charlie secretly practiced Scientology. I'm sure the people that know Charlie have a thing or two to say about that. Let me see if I got that video. Oh yeah, we can go back to if you want to pull this up, Alex. Mappin video claiming Charlie practiced Scientology. Any luck?
But on many occasions, he credited the philosophy of L. Ron Hubbard with helping him in extraordinary situations. When he was attacked in America, there was what was called the Groyper movement, which was a far-right movement that was wanted to annihilate Turning Point.
Right.
And, they were very extreme anti-Semitic, really, group. And Charlie used Scientology to defend Turning Point against that movement. And I have it all well documented. So, he used it extensively and appreciated it deeply. But that didn't, that didn't conflict with anything that he believed or his faith in Christianity.
All right. Now that Charlie's no longer with us, you can say a lot of things about what he believed and did. But so Mappin is out there claiming, he's said this multiple times, that basically he helped Charlie thwart the Groyper threat to TPUSA, which usually is connected to Russia, ironically, by helping Charlie to take tools and practices from Scientology and use that to thwart the Groypers. I'll get more into that in a future podcast, I think, because that's, in terms of an influence operation, that's a little bit further down the line, but let's just stick to 2018 now. So that's everything you need to know about him. So in 2018, something interesting happens with Mappin. I think it's about March or April, might have been March. He starts tweeting to Charlie, to Candace and Turning Point USA, but really zeroing in on Candace. And we don't really know why. I mean, we know why from this podcast, but publicly don't know why. And the opening thing is when she went to visit the U.S. embassy that had just opened in Jerusalem. He compliments her for that and says, "Yeah, man, the Democratic Party has a real problem with anti-Semitism." And something to the effect of, "Thank you for standing up for Israel." See, just like a good influence operative or a social operator, just that type of personality, like he changes along with her. Right there, she's pro-Israel. So he's using that. He's going to be pro-Israel to build the bond with her. He's reaching out to her publicly. That doesn't really land, but he keeps going. And as the year goes on, it increases in tempo. And he starts almost, I don't know if reckless is the right word, but he really jumps to foreign policy immediately, which I find so interesting because you would think he would want to wait, but no, he wanted to cut right to the chase. On July 25th, for example, he tweets to Charlie Kirk and to Candace Owens saying, get Turning Point involved in foreign policy activism to promote U.S. friendship with Russia, Iran, and North Korea. Yeah. He included North Korea and Iran. Yep. Other ones are about Russia and China. I mean, Russia's always there, but sometimes it's China, sometimes Iran, occasionally North Korea. And he's offering to help them do that. So he's trying to say I have added value. You're not really into foreign policy yet. Well, here's something I can dangle in front of you. You want to be a big peacemaker. You want to change the world. I'll help you do it. That's what's being implied there. But he's trying to plant that thought in their heads. And he's doing it publicly at that point. Let's see. Here's one from. Yes. So Kanye West, in that same year, he publicly tweets about how he loves Candace Owens. That's April 26, 2018. And Mappin responds to that. Says, that's another opportunity for me to make contact with Candace. And he tweets, you have, caps lock, awoken the caps lock world and Black America. Camelot Castle, which he owns, from England calling. Deliver your message of freedom from King Arthur's Round Table. There are many other bright, free minds that would like to add their voices to yours and to that of Kanye West. So he's trying to reach out to Kanye West at the same time, but Candace is the big target. And I guess he's hoping, maybe Kanye can help him. But think about that. So already in this part of 2018, he's saying to Candace and Charlie in Turning Point, but really zeroing in on Candace, get involved in foreign policy. Get involved in the multipolar world, as Dugin calls it now. Friendship with Russia, which, by the way, in the intelligence world, that's like, it's actually a joke. Like, you'll hear people joke about, like, oh, I bet I'm a Russian spy. Hey, do you feel that Russia and America should be better friends? Like, it's such a classic intel recruitment line that I don't even know if they use it much anymore because it's like a joke. It's like, like that's what you would joke about. I've been at Intel conferences. That's the type of thing we joke about. They're like, oh, is North Korea going to recruit you? And then like you would joke back, like, oh yeah, don't you think that North Korea and America should be better friends? You want to play a role in building a friendship? Because like, who says no to friendship? So it's like almost a joke. So he's using that line, using it publicly at this time, and saying to Candace, get involved in foreign policy. You're wonderful. Blah blah blah. Come to the UK. She's not responding though, but he keeps at it. I wonder why. August 13th. We go back to my screen. I think I want to show this one. Oh yeah, John Mappin is in the Epstein files. I'm not accusing him of anything, but like that's out there. Yeah, here we go. This is a good one. No. All right, so August 13th, 2018. Maybe he's getting a little frustrated now. What's interesting about this is that he's lavishing the praise more on her than Charlie. Like let's just say I'm wrong. It's an independent assessment. Then let's just say he's acting independently, which I don't believe he is. But let's just say that he clearly said, okay, I the way to get to Candace is to praise her, but to do it in over the top North Korean propaganda level type compliments, because it's just ridiculous. And you see this from then until now with the Russia linked people that get in Candace's orbit. It's all crazy compliments like this. That's like it's I don't explain. It's like an SNL skit. But so he says, Candace Owens may be remembered as the greatest freedom fighter in history. She is freeing the whole world from the effects of mental enslavement. Most importantly, she is breaking the mental chains of the white slaves too. Ooh. Donald Trump has set free thinking loose, meaning through her. You see, if someone said that to me, I'd be like, you're a stalker and I'm never talking to you. Like that's how most normal people react. But something went on where this guy said, where John Mappin and whoever he talked to said, no, this will work. You just keep at it. Keep doing it. This is the Awoken World one. No, it's kind of You Have Awoken the World. That's the Camelot TV network there. That's his like channel. All right, and then he also starts adopting conservative language. Like, you saw a lot of the Russian influence operatives doing this. November 13th, he starts begging Candace and Charlie to bring Blexit and Turning Point to the UK to open up a new branch. Why? To fight cultural Marxism. Yes, the Russia-linked person wants them to come fight cultural Marxism. Okay. But that was the word that, the terminology that was in vogue at that moment. And then she announces Blexit on October 27th. And then it really kicks into high gear. But I mean, leading up to it, around the same time that the Russian social media operatives start backing Blexit, he's doing the same thing. So remember, those are things that are going on in 2018. Also this year, you have Maria Butina, a Russian spy influence agent whose sole objective was to infiltrate the conservative movement. She engaged the NRA. She gets arrested. So all that's going on. You got the Russian spy, Maria Butina, doing everything she can to get into the conservative movement. That's clearly where the Russians' minds are at. Their Blexit gets formed, and they're boosting it. Mappin is reaching out to her. Russia-linked Mappin. This is all happening at the same time. Let's see if October. Let me see if I got this one. Dear Candace. This is after Blexit is formed. He puts that picture of her. Dear Candace, you are an extraordinary and noble spirit on a purpose from God. We do know how you felt because we felt it too. All the way over here in the UK. All truly free beings are connected to your sacred mission. What the hell is that? But here's the thing, it works. Let me see if I think I want to give the example so you can see like how this isn't an anomaly. Let me go to the mice. Let's see, ego. Here's a good one. October 31st, 2018, same time frame. Oh no, this is it. This is the same one. Camelot Castle, his base welcomes Blexit and truly honors you. See, so he's not even mentioning Turning Point there. It's all Blexit, zeroing in on Candace. Now here's, I don't know if what I'm about to show you is due to Mappin. I mean, he's definitely encouraged it, but this will show you that this is probably more calculated, and it's not like, oh, it just was brushed off her shoulders. Let's look at some of the stuff that she has said. This is from Nathan's No Milk Bar. Yeah, what's his X account? Milk Bar TV. Really awesome guy. Does the amazing montages of Candace and other people. This is a montage that he put together. Make sure you follow him. But Alex, if you want to pull up this video, Candace, I am God's conduit. It's 4 minutes, but I think skip around and see if we can find the part where it's probably towards the end is my guess. Or actually, let's see. All right, basically, this is an amazing montage where she's basically saying she has superpowers. Charlie Kirk had superpowers, all sorts of new age Scientology type like weird stuff. And she actually says at one point,
let me know when you want me to play it.
This is God's platform. I am his conduit. So
I'll throw it up there. Let's want to listen to it, Ryan?
Yeah, let's do it.
Right.
In earnest, he asked me, "Are you a witch?" I laughed at him on the phone. I was in London and I said, "No, why? What a ridiculous thing to ask me." And when you hear in the future somebody tell you, like, we're going to Gaza Beach for a vacation, you need to look at them like they are the absolute vermin of our society, because they are. They are. Their children will be cursed, okay? There are, just in general, all of these inexplicable experiences that we have in life, and they try to make it weird for us to discuss them. Charlie and I spoke a lot about his third eye, spoke about the fact that we could both astral project, and we learned that not everybody does that naturally.
Jeremiah 22:3, do no wrong and do no violence to a stranger, the fatherless, or the widow.
The widow.
Malachi,
The
chapter 3,
widow.
verse 5. I will come to you. I will come near.
If the money's there, I will. Everybody, stay with me now. I've been overcome by the Holy Spirit. I'm just gonna come right out and say it. I'm gonna come right out and say, you need to go to CandaceOwens.com and give me money. And while you are there,
I'm going to stop real quick and I'm going to say you guys need to go to RyanMauro.com and give him money. And we are going to go on that Candace grift right there, everyone.
purchase my book that is up for sale.
$1, so I'm challenging you. If you claim to care about these issues, prove it by donating $1 tax deductible, so it's actually less than $1. If you can't do that, you're kind of full of it. Unless you're really in a crunch, then then don't do it. But like, ask yourself, oh, do you actually just find this stuff interesting, or do you actually care? If you can do it, if you care, you get 99% of you guys, 99.999% can do a $1 tax deductible donation, so that this type of work can continue, and the other work that we're not even talking about with the podcast. But go on with, let's go on. I'm not sure this is actually the right montage. I think I downloaded the wrong one, but it lines
funny.
up with the map and stuff, I think.
Yeah.
I am telling you, and this is not a part of Catholic canon, but you are allowed to read it, and you should read it. I read it on a plane. I don't even know what was going through my mind where I decided I needed to read the Book of Enoch. That this is your real history. It is an absolute fact that Charlie Kirk thought that he was a time traveler. I said to him in response that I didn't feel the same way, and that I thought I was from another planet, that I was an alien.
Hear you for judgment. I will be a swift witness against sorcerers and against those who exploit the wage earners and oppress the widow and the fatherless.
Oh, hilarious.
You will be cursed. Every person who steps foot on that, every family that is set to inherit what they did, they will be cursed. Your children's children will be cursed. Explain this to you guys, that if I do something bad, I immediately, the karma of it, I would experience. Like if I stole your phone today, it was just sitting on a counter and I stole it from a restaurant, I'd go back home and my house would be burned to the ground. That's my kind of very swift karma hits me fast. It is make him a sandwich. I'm going to come right out and say it, because I have the Holy Spirit just came over me right now on the podcast, you guys. I'm just going to come right out and say it. And a lot of weird things used to happen to Charlie. He would go on runs. I think I told you guys this, after sundown. And when he was running, street lights would go out. Like it was like he was in a burst of energy, like he was a lightning bolt or something. We all have experienced deja vu. We are certain something happened, but we already did that, but it didn't actually happen. You're like, but I feel like it did. Oof, I just got a bad case of deja vu. But I already knew George. That's how I describe it. I saw his face. I know that doesn't make sense, but it happened that way. I looked at my husband's face and I already knew him. It was like a sigh of relief. At least I'm clear. I'm speaking about politics and I'm giving you my opinion. I'm not going to dress this up in the word of God, okay? You know what? This is not my platform, okay? I genuinely believe this is God's platform. I am a conduit. We love being independent, obviously. You can head to CandaceOwens.com and buy your...
We can stop it there. That's what I was waiting for. So, like, you can laugh and be like, oh, John Mappin's way of reaching out to her is like, you can dismiss it and be like, oh, he's weird. Like, no, that's calculated. Did it work? Did it work? Yeah. Would that normally alienate people? Yeah. John Mappin has friends. He has social networks. So he knows he would not do that if he thought she was like a normal person, would be turned off by that. He wouldn't have done it. He had extraordinary confidence that acting that extreme in his flattery would work. And did it work? Look at the stuff she's saying about herself, which is even more narcissistic than back then. I don't know if that's due to his influence, but I mean, I'm sure it played a role. But they had her figured out. Mappin and whoever he was working with had her figured out. So now here's where we'll come to the end of this influence operation, this part of the story with 2018. So he's reaching out very obsessively. Actually, I have a file in there. I don't know if I want to pull it up because I want to wrap up, where I just screenshot all the tweets to her. And I mean, it was a part-time job for him, how much he was tweeting to her. I mean, he was on a mission to make contact with her. And you would have thought, like I said, anybody else would have blocked and been like, I ain't talking to this guy. It worked. So she announces Blexit. Russia starts promoting Blexit. He doubles down, reaching out. using these same lines. Get involved in foreign policy, be a peacemaker. Somewhere in there, they make contact. I don't know which one did. Somehow it happens. And as Candace tells the story, she just felt spiritual calling, just felt. She had to go to London. And I didn't know why. But I said, Charlie, we have to go to London. He's like, why? And she's like, I don't know. I'm supposed to be there. And Charlie's like, well, we're Turning Point USA. What are you talking about going to the UK here in 2018? What? And she says that she used his credit card to book the trip, and she forced him to go. She consistently says he didn't want to go. She pressured him into it. And, he just was like, all right, fine, whatever. The part that she leaves out of that story, and this is probably what convinced Charlie to say, all right, whatever. And this is what that spiritual feeling was. As soon as she arrives, John Mappin has a massive fundraiser for Turning Point to launch Turning Point UK, which he basically claims to own. All right, is it getting creepy yet? You guys feeling creepy about hearing this now? I wasn't just talking about weird people doing weird things. Now it's weird, right? So he raises a ton of money.
Jump in real quick, and I want to highlight Zoe Patty here with the $40 super chat.
Ooh, wow, thank you.
You're doing important work. Thank you for educating us, Zoe. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Zoe.
We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. That's awesome. So he puts together a fundraiser of up to 250 people. That's how many people could fill the venue. We have video of it. Actually, you can find it online, but we don't need to. Where Mappin is hosting Charlie and Candace, and he introduces them at this event. And the flyer for it, which I have, is December 11th, 2018. It's like Camelot, his entity, and then Turning Point, next to each other, equivalent. Not like that's not usually how you do a fundraiser for something. This is very clearly him almost licensing the Turning Point brand to launch Turning Point UK. He fundraises for it. Says on X that he helped direct it, which I believe it because all the money is coming through him. He launches it. And think about how insane this is. If any of you guys have ever worked in business or a nonprofit, you're going to know what I'm saying. So Napa makes contact with them in November, right? Maybe, yeah, it'd be November. They don't know each other. And then within that would be, let's say it was November 1st. You're looking at 6 weeks, but it probably wasn't November. You're looking at 4, 5 weeks. Someone you don't even met. Candace and Charlie are hightailing it to London. She's dragging him along. He's holding a big fundraiser for it, and they launch a new branch. That doesn't happen in the nonprofit sector or the business world. But I mean, I definitely know in the nonprofit sector, that takes years of relationship building and preparation. Think about how insane this is. Charlie doesn't even want to go. He goes, and this guy, Russia connected, who reaches out to them saying, come to the UK so that we can help basically promote Russia, China, Iran, North Korea. And then that, immediately, as soon as they land, fundraiser, and he launches with his brand, Turning Point UK. Yes, a matter of weeks. That, I've never heard of a fundraiser being done that quickly. I've never heard of a branch being conceived of and launched that quickly with someone you barely know. This never happens. So when Candace says, oh, I just had a spiritual feeling of going, no, your spiritual feeling was that there was a massive fundraiser with 250 people there. And something went on to incentivize her to go. Maybe we'll find the answer in what I'm about to say happens next. But a lot of you guys probably know. And the whole time he's still tweeting at them while they're there. How weird. So Turning Point UK is launched. I wonder how much Charlie even knew. I don't even know if Charlie knew that was going to happen. Because there is no Turning Point advertising or talking about, there's no record of it. It just happens. So now he has Mappin on the pet. If you're Charlie, you now have a second branch and you have new leaders who you barely know that are almost on par with you. That's, Russia aside, that's a takeover operation, folks. Take away Scientology, in any context that happens, that's a takeover operation. That's infiltration. That's someone hijacking an organization. That's exactly what that looks like. Now you add the Russia stuff and all this other stuff that's going on. This is nuts. Now what happens? They hold the fundraiser, it launches, and either the next day or that day, what happens? Anybody know? I'm going to look in the comments, see if anybody knows. I'm just interested to see.
So while you're looking at that, we got 2 more super chats in.
Do we?
Miss Pink coming in with $10 saying, we need your voice right now with
Thank
everything
you.
going on in the world. Thank you. Thank you, Miss Pink. And also, we have
Amazing.
Tracy Benna with just dropping a
thank
$10
you.
super chat. So thank you so much to both of you. We appreciate that very much.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much. Like, I know it's tough out there, guys. Like I can't, like, I grew up with no money. I'm not going to go into a whole thing, but just I feel the pain that everyone is feeling now and has ever felt like financially. Like, I get it. I get that that's like a sacrifice. You're doing that for the cause, for me specifically. So thank you. Only look at the comment. Yep. Some of you guys got it. So what happens next? Yeah. I'm glad someone said it. They say Paul Joseph Watson. So the story of who introduced her to her husband, that's what happens. Oops. Yeah. So fundraiser, she meets George Farmer. And so those clips where she's like, I just locked eyes with him. I knew it was my husband. Yeah, the rich guy at the super rich elite event, fundraising, probably for your platform, giving you a bunch of money. And George Farmer, we now know, thanks to Candace, travels back and forth to Russia. John Mappin claims that he introduced them. Candace said it was Russell Brand. She also said it was Paul Joseph Watson from Russia-linked InfoWars. Watson also got busted saying very, very anti-Semitic things in a recording years after this, too. So those are relevant data points. Like, how many Russia-linked people or Russia-linked entities are going to be in one spot? Like, I'm not saying Watson is, like, directly Russia-linked. I don't know. But I know InfoWars sure as hell is and was. So you have Mappin, Russian influence operator, holding this big event, basically trying to hijack Turning Point. Farmer, he introduces her, or whatever goes on there. They meet, lock eyes, and fall in love, even though George actually said in an interview that there was no romantic feeling. Which is like, that's the definition of not having a romantic feeling. What dude says that? What, like, you really have no romantic feeling if you say that. So he's going back and forth to Russia on his little fishing trips. Watson is there. Russell Brand, I'm almost positive he's pro-Putin. I know he's been dancing around with anti-Semitism too. And in 2018, that's all very weird. It's not like it is today. Like, it's hard to find people that think Putin is good in 2018. It wasn't fashionable. So her story keeps changing about who introduced her to George. I've collected every statement I could find of her telling the story, and I still can't make sense of it. It's weird. And so they meet, they lock eyes. Later, after she goes back home, he flies to the U.S. For a conference that she's at, and then he flies back. After he flies back to UK, 19 days later, he proposes to her, as every romantic stud does, over FaceTime. They hadn't kissed. They hadn't had a date. He hadn't had any really romantic connection. I shouldn't say that. Well, you look at him now, you feel like there's no romantic connection. I mean, I don't want to judge it, but like some people, you see the chemistry, and then with them, you don't. Like, you just, He's widely rumored to be gay, and it's more than just one person, Raheem. I heard that story before it became well known too. By the way, from Raheem about George Farmer hitting on him and trying to, like, grab him and kiss him and make out with him. Like, there have been rumors about that before, and not that I actually care. And like, maybe he's bi and he actually does love cancer. I don't know, but I'm just saying it's a data point that just when there's that many oddities in one spot, it is a factor. When you're saying, well, like, how unlikely is this, but what his taste is in women, then I don't like it. I don't care. But it's relevant with all this weird stuff going on at this moment. Him saying, oh, there's no romantic feelings and we didn't kiss or go on a date. And then 19 days later, he proposes to her over frickin' FaceTime. And she says, yes. She says, yes. What? Any women in the chat? Imagine the best looking guy, richest guy that you could ever meet, the guy you dream about. If you meet him once, you never kiss him, go on a date or anything, and he proposes to you over FaceTime, do you hang up the phone or do you say, yes, we're getting married? Tell me in the chat right now. Oh, yeah, and she was in another relationship of 7 years. That's right, Mindy. I forgot that. Come on, ladies, tell me. Be honest. Could a man be good looking enough, powerful enough, and have enough money for you to ever be like, yeah, to that proposal? No, that's no's. Close that screen, someone says. I don't know if. Oh, close the screen, me on the phone. Okay. Yep. So laugh at him and hung up, right? Like, so that time frame, November 2018, some crazy stuff went on that we don't know about. I think Charlie didn't even know about. But again, what's the narrative here? It's mice, guys. It's the influence operation. All this stuff. If I didn't cover this and tell this story in phases of an influence operation, this would just be a story about weird people doing weird things, and a lady that at some point falls in love with Russia and starts hating Jews. That would be the story. No, we're putting together the evidence and telling the story in a way no one else has, so that we can connect all these things and make sense of them. They're not just weird. I can't explain all of them, but it's part of something. And it's something that you'll see with other influencers and you'll see in other parts of civil society. Like, this is a weird influence operation. So it's an extremely good example, but like, you're going to learn a lot from this if you look at it as a manual, not just a crazy dramatic story. So let me see if there's anything. So actually we'll leave off with, I won't continue the story past that point because there's a certain way I want to do this. I want to go in the phases of an influence operation. But I want to show one thing that's just, again, a data point. So December 17th, Mappin is bombarding Candace with these tweets. Again, all this stuff about like build an alliance with Russia. Let me see if I might actually have the quote here. He urges Charlie and Candace, destroy the globalist agenda, fight the weaponized media campaign against Russia. Like what's on his mind, folks? What's his mission? It's not even him. It's not even about his own interest. Like, he did a little pro-Russia stuff, then he meets with them, it goes really well, and now he's just freaking a tidal wave of pressure to get them involved in pro-Russia campaigns. I mean, help fight the weaponized media campaign against Russia. Guys, that's recruitment. That's a solicitation. That's like, I don't know if Mappin is the handler, like an official part of Russian intelligence or how that's going, but like, that's it. That's how espionage works. That's an influence operation. In fact, it's so blatant, I'm surprised by it. Like, if there was any reason for me to doubt it, it would be that it was so blatant and in your face, and like I would think it was clumsy, but it worked. So it's not clumsy. But if someone was meeting with me and saying, how do you do this? Like, that, I would say that's too much. That's too much. But they had her figured out. Now, let me see if I can find this one last video. I'll show you guys, then we'll go to super chats and things like that. Let me see if I can find it. Because it's just, I kind of want to get your guys' opinion on this. Let's see. Oh, you know what? Maybe it is. Oh, real quick, I know it's a little off. Actually, no, it's relevant. If we go back to my screen here, he's also praising Andrew Tate. The Christian Scientologist is praising the charity of Andrew Tate, September 10th, 2025. So that's actually the day of Charlie's death. Not that it's connected to that. Well, let me see what time it is on there. I'm sure it happened before. But like, this is all one social circle, guys. This is what a cell looks like. This is it in action. I want to show, because people that saw episode 1, when I was talking about the Tate connection to what I believe Candace's next plot is with the shifting of assets to Dubai and moving to Russia, how that all works. If we could just bring up this one, the Tristan Tate brags about controlling video. I'd like to show that to everybody.
And how much money do you have?
Zero. Zero. Hypothetically, if I were to get married now and get divorced, and the world's top financial auditors were trying to give my wife half of my net worth, technically, that would be zero.
How much money do you control?
Some, a lot, 9 figures.
Wow.
Yeah, 9 figures, certainly. If you were to say, could I sell this house, sell this car, pull money out of this bank account, out of this crypto account, I'd say I don't control it. But the people who would do as I ask, I think, yeah, a good, healthy 9 figures.
See, so they openly are talking about how they hide assets. And then they just happen to show up at that event that or the same city where Candace was at in that short little Russia trip, where she spoke at the most secure event in Russia year round, and does all these other things that line up with her moving and having to move assets, and the exact people who brag about it, those guys show up. Like, my case is solid, guys. Solid. But I want to show one more video, and then we'll close out this episode and go to the super chats and everything, because this phase of the influence operation will be complete after I show you this. No, it's not that one. It's not that one. Okay. Alex, if you want to pull it up, Candace, December, DEC, 2018, Adderall, Russia denial. I don't know if she was on Adderall in this, but it was posted at 11:30 at night. And again, I'm not just trying to like trash her for anything and everything, but like, based on the literature of what I shared with you guys, like if they're looking for vulnerabilities, and she talked about abusing Adderall in the past, like this would be relevant, but that's not the point I'm making. So this is, I believe, December 17th. So she just did the fundraiser and everything. Keep in mind, she's not talking about foreign policy, but there's a few reasons that this video is significant if we're able to play it. Just skip, because it's really long, because she just goes nuts. Just skip around and see when like she's going like kind of crazy.
Their plantation who don't read. That's literally the view that black. I mean, if you're a black person, you don't know this yet, you got to wake up eventually. I mean, it could not be more in our face than it is right now, really. But this is a level of stupid that I didn't even think that they thought we were. Like, sure that they keep picking this cotton here on our Democrat plantation. We got to make sure these Negroes don't read. We got to make sure if they stay scared. This is literally the strategy that they have every couple of years. So done. And yet the 3 strikes policy and all the stuff that happened to black Americans was in fact done by Democrats. Why is it that racist Trump is reversing all of that? You're worried that black people are going to start to think, or if we want to put it back into your times, the Negroes are going to start to read and realize that all the things that we're saying is absolute BS. You should be afraid of Russian collusion. Pathetic. You should be ashamed.
So yeah, lots of screaming and stuff there. You just go back to me. So that's a tough video to listen to. It goes on for seven minutes. She acts like that. With his eyes all big and everything. So most people that see that say she's not sober. I kind of don't care. But the point is, what sets her off? Like, think about this beyond the whether she's sober thing, how she's acting. She does this big event. She's not into foreign policy. What sets her off to make that video? And Mappin promotes it. It's a New York Times article talking about how Russia is running influence operations to target the black vote, to get them not to vote or to vote Republican, because, there's, I'm not trying to make a political point left or right. There's, just think of it, at that moment, there's a strategic reason to do it. she goes nuts in that, like, and she's like screaming and stuff. And she keeps saying how crazy that is because she says Black people have voted en masse one way for so long. And she's like, this report is obviously false, made up. You think we're supposed to believe this? They've only voted one way. You can never change that. What did she just do? She just launched Brexit. She just went to Turning Point UK. She's famous because she's saying Black people have voted one way and she's the person to shift it. So it doesn't make sense. But it's more important. Think about it a little bit more. So yeah, so what she's saying is nonsensical. She's going nuts at how stupid it is that the New York Times saying that Russia or anybody could try to move the Black vote when she's saying donate to me because I can move the Black vote. Like, makes no sense, right? But then why is she saying it? Why is she taking time out of her day? Even if she is on Adderall or some other amphetamine or whatever. Why'd she snap it? Well, as soon as it gets posted, Mappin promotes it and compliments it. Mappin is part of that conversation about that. You think it's a coincidence that all of a sudden the topic of Russian influence operations is setting her off? The idea of Russia being a bad guy? I mean, she's not denying that they're a bad guy, but like that's the net effect of what she's doing. She's denying that Russia is trying to interfere in our electoral process. She's denying it, saying it's stupid for no reason that we can think of. She's nonsensically attacking it at 11:30 at night, going nuts. So what does that tell me? It tells me that the conversation she was having were about Russia at that time and also in the UK. She's starting to become passionate about it when she wasn't passionate about it before. She's not a foreign policy person. The messaging coming from Mappin is now sinking in. You're seeing it. That's why I showed that video. Aside from the fact that it's entertaining and you can probably make a lot of funny jokes about it. It's not even just about her making a bad, nonsensical argument that's completely hypocritical. She's doing it because it's not even about the argument that she's trying to articulate there. She's being set off because she's talking to Mappin about Russia and that whole idea of we have to be friends with Russia and no, Russia's not doing anything bad. So the fact that set her off just shows that messaging is now sinking in, and there are probably conversations going on at that very moment we don't know about, and also especially in the UK. So that kind of wraps it all up. That's 1 year, guys. I just went for, my God, almost 2 hours, just about 2018, specifically October to December 2018. This is a heck of a story. So before we go to Super Chats and all that, you guys can send a gift through YouTube. You can help support us through Super Chats. Again, the $1 challenge, if you can donate more for a tax-deductible donation to the Mauro Institute, that's my nonprofit, at ryanmauro.com. We really need it. It'll keep us going. I want to continue doing this, but I have to be able to justify it because it's like that things are tight enough now that to do this, I have to take away from something else. It's a bit of a gamble. I'm just hoping it works out and I can continue doing it because I really love doing this stuff. And it's also important that you guys have independent, nonpartisan voices like myself there. Like I hate tribal politics, and that's why I'm good at this stuff, is because I see it happening on the right and the left. And there virtually nobody, even people that study this and talk about this issue, it's always going from one side to the other, and you're missing what's really going on, unless you have someone that operates out of that binary. So I'm challenging people, if this bothers you, what's going on, if you want to make a difference, if you claim, like, ask yourself, is this entertainment for you, or do you actually want to make a difference? When you tell people you care about this, do you mean it? If you mean it, you can do a tax-deductible $1 donation. Tax-deductible, making it like 75 cents. That's all I'm asking. That's all I'm challenging you to do. If you can do more, I hope you will consider it, but I'm only pressuring you to just do $1 just to prove to yourself that you actually do care at least that much. But if you're not able to, then I don't want you to. But you know, if you're able to and you don't do it, should you feel a little bit of shame if you're out there saying that this is your issue and you care about it? Yeah, probably should. Let's go to Super Chats and things like that. Alex, if you want to come in and help me navigate all that, the questions and stuff, because I know you're paying attention to the chat while I was rambling for 2 hours. I can't hear you. You're muted.
Boom. I'm here. So we had a ton of great comments throughout. We read the supers as they came. So we appreciate everybody that, sent them and everything like that. But there was a lot of just great comments throughout. And one of the good signs of the fact that you're, doing good things is the chat has been rolling all night, Ryan.
Oh, yeah?
So, yeah, chat's been rolling. A
For
lot
2
of
hours,
good
right?
things. 2 hours. And so I will say to the chat, if you want Ryan to answer your questions at the end of the show and things like that, send those super chats. They don't have to be, a lot of money, but send those super chats for Ryan to answer at the end. So, but we went through them as they went because I was just pumped to, have them come in and, jump in there. So we appreciate everyone. And like Ryan said, the $1 challenge is great. You can even do it here. That's just fine. You can go and donate directly to the Moral Institute, or you can go in here and if you have a question, drop $1, drop $2, and you'll be able to ask it of Ryan so Ryan can expand upon anything. But I enjoy jumping in here. I get educated every single time I am here just listening to Ryan say things. And we appreciate every single dime that gets sent. But yeah, no, we read them and we got the gift that came in. So we appreciate all of them. So do you have anything else before we jump out of here, Ryan?
No, I didn't know if you remember any questions or any super chats or anything that you want me to address because I don't know, or any good comments like.
Oh, we had a ton. I like to flash them on the screen as they go.
I'm not going to remember them because
no.
I'm doing my thing.
I just like to show the love. Oh, this is a good one. Nikki for Freedom. Does she say where she's going? Apparently, Candace just said that she's going on vacation for 2 weeks. So maybe that's something that you could have some fun digging in. And maybe by the time we do the next show, we could find out where she's going. And if anybody else happens to be coinciding with a 2 week vacation.
Good point. You guys can all figure that out too. I saw some people in the chat saying Romania, which, man, that would be weird too. Because that's where the tapes operated from. Like out of anywhere, Romania, that's odd too. I don't know. I mean, my theory is still that she's going to go to Dubai, but maybe she's meeting the Tates there.
Angela said she posted on Twitter that it is Romania. Probably just a short stop to Russia or UAE. Also, on top of that, someone suggested she doesn't want to cover the Tommy Robinson trial. I think that's in 2 weeks.
Ooh, that's true.
I think it's happening. So could be corresponding with both of those.
Good point.
I think that they are both. But yeah, Romania, that is interesting, like you said, considering everything that ties in with the Tates. Yuckfu Tube 2. Is Romania having any conventions? That I don't know.
We'll have to look. I know that she said something like, "Oh, I'll be off for the summer." I just saw that right before we started the show. Now, I'm hoping it wasn't someone quoting her and it's an incorrect quote, but I think I saw that coming from her directly. In my mind, that's how. So she's doing this vacation. Remember what she said? She said, we're doing another family vacation in about a month. And she said when she went to Russia, she goes, and I'm sure people have something to say about that. So that means there is something, she knows it's bad, whichever place she's going to. Romania is interesting. I still suspect she's going to go from Romania to Dubai. Why? Because the Tates operate from Dubai. If she's going to Romania, it's got to be to meet with the Tates because, like, it's Romania. Like, that's the only connection her and Farmer have to there is the Tates. But they would come in from Dubai. Maybe she goes to Romania and then to Dubai, and everyone thinks that she's still in Romania. Yeah. That's what I would do if I was her, actually. That's exactly what I would do.
I said Tommy Robinson. I meant Tyler. So not Tommy from the UK. Tommy's also.
Not Tommy.
But Tyler. We like Tommy Robinson. But also, on top of that, you also have to think, she's a political commentary person, right? We're in the middle of the midterms, and she's about to go dark and be gone for the summer leading up to the midterms. Like, this is the time where if you're a political commentary person, this is where you want to get it all in, right? But she has completely and totally shifted away from political commentary, truly. She just goes in, she's in it for a lot more, I think, of the like lefty females to just go in and get that drama, because she's all drama right now. There's no actual political commentary coming from her. And I think it is, she shifted fully to culture And like Ryan points out as connecting, it is culture that is being promoted by infiltrators from Russia and from bad actors. So it's really disheartening. But again, Ryan, you've uncovered her past. You go back. She was a Democrat activist before she played, the Republican and the conservative. So it's not surprising at all. But yeah, that's generally what we have here, Ryan. Like I said, we had great comments before. God, I don't know if I could remember after 2 hours all the comments, but yeah, like I said, a good way if you want your comment to be read, to be highlighted, question to be answered, send those super chats. We would appreciate it. And unlike a lot of people, I like a lot of influencers and people on YouTube, but it's not just going into their pockets. This is for Ryan to put back into all the research, his time, his money, everything he does. Everybody knows it's all expensive, and he works his tail off. I can't tell you how many times me and him are texting, and he's just like, hey, I need you to go do this real quick because I am running around here, here, and here. And then I'll text him, and he's gone for like 6 hours because he's just busy. He's just doing things. So it goes a long way. And we had one coming in. Bear Henny coming in saying Putin banned Scientology in Russia. Even being associated can land you in prison. Yet John Mappin seems to get a pass constantly, posing it on the United States. The bridge is known as is a known Scientology
what a
term.
good comment! What a good comment. So I did forget to mention that.
Thank you for the 1999. We appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you. I forgot to mention that. So Scientology, I was looking into it. Some sources said it was banned. Other people said it was effectively banned under regulations that don't name it. I asked Mappin about that, and he said, "Oh, there's a lot of false information out there." He was kind of implying that. I think he said something more like a little bit more of a denial to me that Scientology is banned in Russia. It was not a satisfactory answer. I know that.
I wonder if we can get John Mappin to come on the show. Do you think he would agree to come on the show and kind of have you talk to him about Scientology?
You know what?
The things he's doing?
I'll say 20% chance.
Maybe I'll reach out to him.
Yeah, okay. He really wants PR. Like he really wants to be a public figure. So he might do it. And he likes. He likes being the guy that like can talk to anyone. So he might. And I'm not going to yell at him or anything. Like people that want it to be, like this contentious thing. I don't do that. Like I'd be just trying to get information. I'm not screaming. Yeah. I don't do the debates. I don't do all that. I'm a researcher.
It's never good. So,
but it is good sometimes, but it's just not me. But the bridge being a Scientology term, how interesting, because the Russian state media was referring to Candace as the bridge, meaning the bridge from Christians in the East, Christians in the West, Russia and the U.S. They might have just come up with the bridge on their own. That's possible. So I don't know if that's Scientology inspired, but considering Mappin being in the picture, and I've heard of the bridge in a Scientology context. I forget exactly what it was, but you're right. I do remember hearing that. That's interesting.
Ryan, you know that there's very few things that are by mistake in your field and what you're looking at.
Yeah.
With these people that understand the lingo, right? And you have to look at the world weirdly. I like politics and everything, and I like to do like research and stuff like you. I look at the world differently because when people make speeches, you hear things differently, right? You hear the words they're using, the phrases they're saying. They're giving you tells as to exactly where they're pulling from, what they're thinking, what their ideology is. And if you're watching this show and you're listening to Ryan, you're paying attention to any of his speeches and reading his articles, you'll get that insight as to what to look for, what the tells are. And I promise, when you guys do that, you will start to look at the things that people say on all sides of the aisle. Like you'll go watch a speech from activists and you'll hear just buzzwords, buzz phrases, and you'll know exactly where they came from, who said them, what their ideological lean is. That's the value of, Ryan and what he does. And the value of this $2 donation from Gritsnitch. Thanks, Ryan. Great job. Absolutely.
Thank you.
We appreciate that. And we just had another one come in, a $4.99 from Bear Henny. Putin says it's a threat to national security, the bridge to total freedom. U.S. may need Operation
Snow White Part 2.
So, yeah.
Yeah, you guys should read about that. Look up Operation Snow White and then Guardian Office Scientology on Wikipedia. It'll blow your freaking mind. Like, if I had the ability to make a documentary or make like a movie that's based on a true story, that, oh my God, I would definitely do those, because it is the craziest. It's like, I hate conspiracy theorists because like how they make everything so dramatic. If a conspiracy theorist described this, you would say it's not true, but like it's actually true. Like it's that level of nuts. But it's also scary because they're still around. They have that skill set. Those morals stay the same because it's an ideology. And you have this high-powered, one of the leaders in there connected to Russia and China doing all this. Like, it's just like in the world, there's conflicts and there's good guys and bad guys, but it's rare that like you have this level of like a Star Wars trilogy drama going on with all these subplots and everything. And that's why I find it so interesting. People say you're obsessed with Candace. It's like, no, it's just as a study, for what I do, it's very relevant, but like the subplots and the twists are just astonishing. It's really entertaining. It's fascinating. And one thing that people can do, I don't know how Candace does if she takes super chats or how she gets like viewer correspondence and chooses what to respond to. But can you imagine if there was a huge campaign of people, maybe there are bots, I don't know how to do that, but let's just say a good government out there decides to play the Russians game. So just ask her over and over again, are you a Scientologist? Do you practice any part of Scientology? Do you condemn Scientologists? You're a Christian, yes, but Scientologists believe they can be a Christian and a Scientologist. Are you a Scientologist? What do you think?
Here's the problem.
I would love to see how she answers that.
I doubt that she knows you could be both. I doubt that she's looked into it.
No,
that
she
long,
knows.
she
would know that from Mappin. She would know that. That's like a key.
But she's gonna play dumb though. She's gonna play dumb.
She'll play
kind
dumb.
of Candace MO. So we have another one coming in. 199 from Mackenzie Moore 2424. Have you spoken to Mappin?
I have publicly tweeted with him and then Twitter DM. He's actually pretty responsive.
That's good to hear. So like I said, we'll definitely reach out to him and see if we can have him on as a future guest. I think that would be clutch to be able to
That'd
talk.
be awesome.
Well, yeah, listen, like you said, if he's somebody that wants to be talked to, then let's have him on. And you are a good operator for that. And I'm very similar on my show when I do my interviews. I don't care where you lean. If we're going to have a conversation, there's going to be no yelling match. Because I want them to come back on usually. To have more conversations. Because even if you talk to Mappin, you're never going to fill in everything that you guys want to talk about or all the information that you're going to want in a 2-hour show, 3-hour show, whatever it is. Unless we decide to do 10 hours, which no, I'm not doing. I know people do 10-hour podcasts. That is insane.
Yeah.
But if that is it for the supers, everyone, thank you so much. We appreciate the flood of supers coming in at the end. Ryan, do you have anything else before we close out of here?
No, I'll continue down this story. I don't know if I'll do it next week's podcast because it takes a lot of time to prepare this. But if you guys have ideas, people you want me to interview, things you want me to research, especially stuff that I can get done kind of quickly in a week and I can quickly grab things. I'm good at it. But just let me know, like send in questions, ideas. If you have a contact with someone that you think I should talk to on here, if you can facilitate that, because all that communication takes up time and I have so many things to keep track of, like that's a big help. That's a big help. Contacts, introductions, and like babysitting, those things. So you get the content you want on this podcast. That's a big help too. But yeah, let me know what you like, what you don't like, what you like to see, what you don't want to see, and all of that. And thank you for tuning in to the Counteroffensive with Ryan Mauro. You guys can follow me on social media, subscribe, like, all that stuff whatever the millennials have always said about social media. Like, follow, subscribe, donate, whatever other action terms they do. But thanks for tuning in. So next time, hopefully next week, we'll do, the plan is to do another one, as long as I have enough time to do the research. But send me what you want to cover and give me feedback and help me make this happen. Thanks for tuning in to the Counteroffensive with Ryan Mauro. I'll talk to you guys next week and on X and wherever else. Thanks for tuning in. And thanks, Alex.
Yeah, of course.